I observed something about budget phones that have been released this year. Things are a bit different this time because, okay, let me just say this. Now, if let's talk about cars for instance. So, if you see a Corolla, you can recognize it by its design. So, you're never gonna see a Corolla that somehow looks like a Rolls Royce or a Lambo, any of these supercars, but it's a Corolla. It has a sort of identity. People who use it, they love it, and there is something that they expect from it that they always get. This has not been the case with budget phones over these past few years because I've seen budget phones that just fake iPhones. Why? Because of the design. So they have this symbolic iPhone camera module with those three rings at the back. I call them three rings for a particular reason. Yes, there are three rings because unlike iPhones where all of the rings contain image sensors, these budget phones usually have just one sensor, and then the other ring may be a flashlight and a useless depth sensor. What I'm going to review today is the INFINIX HOT 40i that I have here with me. So based on based on my Corolla description, I feel budget phones, they usually don't. They are beginning to have an identity with respect to the designs that have come out in, I think, at the beginning of, towards the end of this year, like 3 months ago, like I would say the last quarter of this year. Three of these budget phones actually stood out for me: the Redmi 14C, the Spark 30C, and then the one I have here with me, the INFINIX HOT 40i. I would have loved to have all of them, but it's something of a budget. How much do I really have? So I didn't have the financial prowess to do that, so I had to go for just one of them. So I watched videos, I did a little bit of research, and one of them stood out for me, and this is the INFINIX HOT 40i that I'm going to talk a little bit about. Now, firstly, what's inside the box? Just what you would expect. You have the mobile phone inside. It comes with an 80 watts fast charger. There is also a headphone, because it comes with a headphone jack. It's debatable. I don't know. Do you really care about headphone jacks in 2024? I don't know. And then one question would be, why did I go for this INFINIX HOT 40i when I said three of them stood out? It's because of what I talked about, a standard or an identity for budget phones, and the INFINIX HOT 40i somehow decided to went farther than the other two. Now let's talk about the standards. So what are the standards? Well, first, I think we now expect a 120 Hz 720p display at this price range. We expect a Helio G81 or something similar from Unisoc at this price point, and that's exactly what we have here. The display is not a very bright one. From what I see on paper, it's about 500 nits or something, so it's usually best used indoors, but that does not mean you cannot use it outdoor. I've used it. So let's talk about the design of this particular phone. If you look at the other, so I said that we are finally having an identity instead of just having this iPhone design, this fake iPhone design that I choose to call these budget phones. They now have their own design identity, and this one. So I can make the case that the Spark 30C looks like a Vivo X100 from the rear. The other one, the Redmi 40C, looks like an Oppo Find X7 Ultra from the rear. But the INFINIX HOT 50i looks like INFINIX HOT 50i. You can argue that there are other budget phones with similar design, but at least they are not trying to fake any of these flagship. You get it? The camera emoji here has this just one camera. So I would say the thickness of these three rings was reduced by 33%. That is about 1/3, because unlike in the other designs where you have like 3 cameras or try to fake 3 or 4 cameras, here you just have 3 rings. Here you have just 2 rings. So one has a camera, an image sensor, and then the other one a useless depth sensor. Talking about cameras, this particular one has this a Sony IMS 585 image sensor. So I dug deep to see other phones that have used this particular sensor before, and they tend to be mid-range and sometimes some flagship killers or something. Flagship killers, a kind of phone. So, but you know what? It's like good optics. It's not just about the camera. It's not just about the image sensor. Rather, things like the arrangement of the lens will come into play. The image processing itself, which is the software part, will come into play. Any other things, like you can even see the likes of Oppo and Vivo having a dedicated chip that they use for image and video processing. I'm going to talk about the camera at the end of the video, so I'll keep it for the last. It's not the best, but is it the best? But I'll keep it for the last. Now, there is something I don't like. There are 2 things I do not like about this phone, but that does not take its credit away from it. So one of them is the lie that when you open the case, you see 8 gigabytes of RAM being listed there as the memory size that comes with it. But then when you look deep, when you look closer, you find out that there is 4 gigabyte plus 4 gigabyte of RAM. So what that translates to is that actually it's just 4 gig of memory, but then there is sort of a RAM extension where part of the storage is being used as RAM. But I think it's deceptive because your operating system is probably already doing this. There's something called paging, where your memory is extended to the storage. So for instance, applications that are idle, their data is being moved to your storage, and then when these applications they come up again, then they are retrieved and moved back to memory. So this actually is a 4 gig RAM phone. It works like a 4 gig RAM phone. There is nothing that suggests that it's 8 gig memory. And what makes it even worse is that because it's a budget phone, you're definitely going to get a slower storage. So it makes it even worse, this advertisement of RAM extension or something. So it's 4 gig of RAM. It's either with 4 gigs or 6 gigs. Don't take what INFINIX tells you about the RAM. The other one is there is something I wouldn't say I don't like this, but I just see it as a gimmick. It's not going to change anything, and that is there's an always on display. So when I first heard that this phone comes with an always on display, so it was sort of mixed feelings. I was like, so how do they manage to add an always on display feature to an LCD panel, a cheap one for that matter, and then how is it going to be like? What about battery life? How is it going to affect the battery life? So after getting to this feature on my phone, I discovered that it's more of a gimmick, because one, it's not like an always on display that as you might have wished, because it goes off after a few seconds. So secondly, when you put it side by side with a phone with an OLED display and has this always on display feature, the difference is night and day. In fact, the blacks from these LCD panel are that bad that I think it wasn't necessary. But it's nice, it's good as well. Maybe INFINIX is trying to give us a little bit a taste of what it's like to use a mid-range or a flagship device. And then in terms of biometrics, as you would expect. It's a side-mounted fingerprint sensor, but it's sort of very, very fast. Surprisingly, it's very, very fast and snappy. I used it and I was surprised. You just tap, immediately you tap on it, you don't need to have, actually faster than so many or some optical fingerprint sensors in my mid-range devices, like my Honor 90 for instance. So you just need to tap it, but like an ultrasonic sensor, just tap on it and then it authenticates you. So I like that. I said I was going to leave the camera for the last, and truly I've had a sort of rather impressive camera experience so far. I said that good optics is not just about the image sensor. It has a 48 megapixel IMS 585 image sensor, and that is the good thing on paper. And what it really translates to in real life is that you're going to get good pictures, especially in good lighting. The lighting has to be good. And then videos as well, they are good. They are detailed, a bit true to life, not over sharpened. Something that the people really don't talk about much is the what's it called? The selfie. So the selfie camera is, I think, a 16 megapixel camera, and I think I actually like the selfies. Why? Not because they are the best or the prettiest out there, but because of their skin tone. The skin tone that comes out from that. They are actually very true to life, and then the details rendering, they are natural. I took some pictures with a selfie and the rear camera. I recorded some videos, and I'm going to share them as part of closing up this should I call it review or description, whatever. I woke up this morning. I'm not in a very good mood because last night was hell. Let me forget about that. So I'm currently going to the football pitch. For those of you guys who still play street football, probably this is for you. I'm going to the football pitch to play football. So I'm going to test the video on our local pitch. For the game to start.
Yeah, well done.
Like, I mean, no kiss, it's too good of an interface.
Hey.
Ja, push na je. So, on you turn the phone, you know.
Yani, that's like that. Now you got to go to one dinner.
If you say fresh, the womanize na bad face. Fresh, the womanize na bad face. I love the boy. I don't know my best set of this film. Because I will collect their number. I'll collect their number. I'll collect how far. Oh, come on. We'll give them another show to me. Okay, I have the Bob. I got here. Cavans. Bob. Open for a back, Ebenezer. Oh yeah. Yes, like those kind of.
Yeah, like this, like
So
this. Where?
you know that also it is very light. Let me say.
Maybe you go this sexy for woman, sha.
Recording with a selfie of the Infinix Hot 50i. How do I look? Wow. Okay. Yeah. I think I actually like, funny enough, it might not be what the average person out there want. So it's not something that's going to beautify you, but in terms of details, the skin tone is just exactly 100%. I don't know if this is going to be consistent, but for this particular video that I'm recording, the skin tone is on point. There's a lot of details and there seems to be no sharpening. Like the image, what I can see here is sort of true to life. I don't know if after processing the video there are going to be some sort of changes, but I like this video.